What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel in another video. As you remember last week, we did a full walk around of my JKU. What I wanted to do this week is do a full cost breakdown. Like, what did it cost me to build this Jeep the way that I did? And that's important, you know, when you're looking at building your Jeep and budget and things like that. Hopefully, this breakdown will help you to kind of decide what is right for you and what isn't right for you, and kind of help you build that budget when it comes to building your Jeep. Now, of course, this is over the course of 2 or 3 years, so I didn't do all this in one pop. So over 2 or 3 years, this is how much it cost me to build this Jeep with all the parts that I wanted to put on it. So this will not include any previous variations like my Moto Metals or my VKS sliders. Won't include any of that. This will just be the stuff that's on the Jeep right now. So let's go ahead and get right into it, guys, and get down to the bottom of what this cost me. And I think you'll be surprised, because I was a little bit surprised as to what the final price was. So let's get right into it. All right, so I bought this 2014 Jeep Wrangler Sahara right around 2020. So we're coming up on 3 years now. And again, I've been building this over the course of 3 years, so I didn't do all this in one pop. But I bought it, I believe it was right around $24,000 if I remember correctly. I got a really good deal on it. It did have some modifications done to it, like it had a small rough country lift on it. And it did have air lockers front and rear already installed, and I have changed that setup up just a little bit because it did have the Dana 30 in the front. So I did switch that up, and I did have a few mods on it, and that's why it was a little bit on the higher end, but I thought that was still pretty reasonable for a 2014. Only had about 60 or 65,000 miles on it. So that's what we started with. That was the base of this build. Now let's get into the build list. All right, guys, so in no particular order, I do have a full list here. First and foremost is the Dana Ultimate 44 with the 456 gears, as well as the Eaton E-Locker. That ran me about $3,600, and I actually got kind of a deal on that. Originally, when I was looking, it was right around $4,500. And then the price dropped. I believe it was right around the holiday, but I can't remember which holiday it was. But the price had dropped, and I ended up getting a really good deal on it at $3,500 or $3,600. So first things first, $3,600 for that Dana 44 front axle. Then you have the Nitro chromoly shafts in the rear. Now that ran me about $500 for the set in the rear. Now, while we're on the topic of the axles as well, the rear does have an ARB air locker with 456 gears. So that right there was already installed when I bought the Jeep. So the ARB was already in there along with the gearing. But just looking at the prices online right now, you're looking at right around $1,100 without any labor, just for the air locker. All right, and I also did the Dana diff covers. The front came with the Jeep, or with the axle that I bought, so the front doesn't really count towards that, but I did count the cost of both for front and rear diff covers on these Dana 44s for the Dana actual covers there. That will run you about $250, so not too bad there. And going to the steering setup here, so the Rock Crawler tie rod, that ran me right around $600. And you can get that a little bit cheaper if you use my discount code on Northwoods 4x4, and I have that listed in the description. Now when we move on here to the Yeti Steer Smarts drag link, again, this is the top mount drag link here, the no drill version with the Griffin attenuator. That ran me right around $700. All right, and for the Rock Crawler track bar in the front, as well as the Rough Country track bar in the rear, those together are right around $400. And then as you can see here, I do have the full PSC Hydro Assist setup. So that includes the cooler, the new steering box, of course the Hydro Assist here, and then also it includes the new pump. Now all of that together was around $3,200 for the kit, and you can price that out on PSC's website as well. I also have the TerraFlex heavy duty ball joints up in the front here. Those all together for the kit were right around $300. And then we also have the TerraFlex extended brake lines, and these are the longest ones you can buy from TerraFlex. These ran me right around $200. While we're up front here, we have the Rock Jock anti-rock sway bar. And I did have to get the extended links here just so I could get my travel where I wanted it to be. For that whole setup, we're looking right around $650 roughly. And underneath, I'm running Adams drive shafts front and rear. These are the 1310. These ran me right around, it would be about $1,200 total for that kit they sell on their website for both the front and the rear in a 1310. All right, for suspension, we have Metal Cloak 4.5-inch coils, front and rear. That will run you about $500 for the full set, front and rear. Then we also, of course, have the Falcon 3.3 piggyback adjustable shocks with the skids in the rear as well. Altogether for that, you're looking right around $1,800 for the full set and the skids. This the bolt-on skids in the rear. So that does it for the suspension side of things here. And I'm also running the Synergy shock extensions there that push the shock up about 2 to 3 inches. Those ran me right around $100. Now you don't have to run those, that's just a mistake I made. If you watched the previous video, I kind of explained that a little bit better. But yeah, about $100 for those, not terrible. I'm not gonna count the bump stops here because those are just hockey pucks. You can get them on Amazon for like 10 bucks. So not gonna include that in here just because the price is so low. Now when it comes to the control arms, we have the Rock Crawler lower as well as Rock Crawler upper adjustables here. Now for the set there, you're looking at right around $750. While we're on the topic of the control arms, I do have the Metal Cloak rear lowers with the stock uppers. For the rear lowers there, you're looking right around $300 from Metal Cloak. All right, so for wheels and tires, we are running the ATX slab. Beadlocks, they are 17x9. I did buy these used. I got a really good deal on these for all 5. It was right around $1,200. So that was a real steal there. Now I also have these wrapped in the 37 13.5 Cooper STT Pros. These for all 5 of them ran me about $2,100 roughly, and I installed them myself. I am also running SpiderTrax wheel spacers in there. Of course, you can't see them, but they're the 1.5-inch wheel spacers, all 4 corners of the Jeep, and that ran me about $300 for that set. All right, for armor, for the front bumper, we have the Evo 1/4 pounder front bumper with the stinger. Now for that setup right there, you're looking about $950, and then of course we do have the worn Evo 10 in here, and I used my own synthetic line that I already had, so I didn't get the 10S, I just got the regular 10. That runs you about $600. If you want to go with the 10S, if you don't have synthetic line already, that'll run you about $700 to $800. All right, and for fenders, we are running the Poison Spider Crusher narrow flares, front and rear. For the front set, cost me right around $700, and you can find these at multiple different price points I've seen online, but roughly around $700 for the front pair. And then for the rear set, you're looking right around $650. So a little bit cheaper for the rear, depending on what you go with, and if you go with the Spider armor coat that they offer on these two. And while we're on the side here, I do have the LOD frame-mounted sliders, the Signature Series sliders here. These ran me right around $850, and then also have the Evo rock skins here, which cost me right around $350. So yeah, not bad for that whole setup there. I did actually get some new battle scars here from this weekend at the Badlands, so I might have to touch that up here later. For the rear, we have the Evo rear fascia, or fascia, however you say that, with the recovery points that they offer here. Now for that whole setup, you're looking right around $500 for that. And that tow hitch was, of course, already there when I bought the Jeep. And I did decide to keep that. Here's a good look at these skids as well here with the Falcons in the rear. And then also while we're on the back here, I am running the Evo tire carrier as well. That ran me right around $800. All right, and underneath, as you can see right there, I'm running the MORE skid plate for the transmission as well as the engine, the oil pan. That cost me right around $500 for that, and that is well worth it, by the way. Definitely a good option for protection there. All right, and for the inside of the Jeep, we do have the Scosche phone mount here. This was right around $50. You can customize this to where you can have the chargeable version here, which will run you right around $100, but this specific one here was only about $50. Also have the Sony aftermarket stereo here with the CarPlay. This was about $350. With the kit as well, with the Scosche kit, adds on about $50 for that, but that's optional, so I'm just going to count the Sony aftermarket radio here at $350. And then also, of course, have the Smittybilt cage. That ran me right around $700 for this setup here. And again, that's for the front and the rear setup. Now you can't see it, but down in here I do have my pedal commander. I use strictly the Bluetooth on the app usually, so I don't usually have that out and about, but that ran me about $300 for the pedal commander. But that, yeah, I do have that down there as well. Almost forgot about that. We also have the S-Pod here, and again, that's mainly under the hood, but for that S-Pod setup, it was right around $600 for that. Now, this was on the Jeep when I bought it, so I priced it online just to get what the prices were, but it looks like they're right around $600 for that setup. Alright guys, and in the rear we do have the Tuffy security deck. That ran me right around $5 to $5.50 for that. Again, well worth it. Did a video on this as well. Make sure to check that out. But right around $500 to $5.50 for this, depending on what code you use and where you buy it from. Alright, and for the top, I did buy the Best Top Trek Top NX, as you can see up there. Absolutely love this top. I did a review on this as well, but this cost me right around $1,000 for this, and this is just the regular black diamond stuff, so not the twill. If I could do it again, I'd probably do the twill, but right around $1,000 for this specific setup right here. Now I also have the hard top that came with the Jeep, but I've been running the soft top now for a really long time, actually considering selling the hard top, so love this setup. Alright guys, for underneath the hood, again you can see the S-Pod here, I already mentioned that, right around $600 for that. We also have the ARB single air compressor that controls the rear locker. This online, when I looked, was right around, I believe it was $300, actually $350. $350 for the single air compressor there. We also have the RIP cold air intake, as you can see here. Now for that setup, that was right around $350. We also have the Tuffy hood lock here, which was right around $50 for that. And I also have this light bar up here. It's just a single row with the mount here. I'm not sure what brand the mount is. And the light bar, I believe it's Rough Country, but I'm truly not sure. So I didn't include that in the price, but I imagine this whole setup is right around $200 to $300. It doesn't look like a very expensive light bar setup here. Alright, and one thing I did forget to mention was the Synergy shock extensions for the rear as well. Those were also about $100, so I am running those in the back as well. Alright guys, so that is everything. I'm sure I'm forgetting, a little small thing here and there, but that's the bulk. That is everything that I can think of that I have done to this Jeep. And again, I did everything here in this garage myself. I may have had a helping hand with, heavy stuff, but everything was done by myself in this garage, so no labor costs are involved in this. If you're having somebody else do this, it's going to probably almost double the cost, so just something to keep in mind there. But if you do it yourself, this was pretty expensive. So when I added all of this up, we're looking just over $30,000. It was $30,050 from what I could calculate here for this full setup. So if you were to buy the Jeep at $24,000, add the 30, you're looking at $54,000 for a JKU built the exact same way that mine is. So pretty pricey, but again, it's more about the smiles and the fun that you're having, and if you're really into this hobby, you really enjoy it, it's not that much, especially over 2 or 3 years. So really it wasn't that bad, and I'm very happy with this setup. As I've said in previous videos, I love the way this rides on-road and off-road. I love the way it flexes. It is very predictable. Absolutely love this setup. Alright guys, well that is going to do it for today. I hope that this whole breakdown of the cost kind of helped you to calculate what you want to do with your Jeep and how much this truly costs to build this Jeep. And this isn't even a full build. I would say this is a mild build, almost a full. Of course, if you do a full build, you're looking at like 1 tons, 40s, things like that. In my opinion, that's a full build. And I still have the stock 3.6 in here as well, so I wouldn't say it's a full build, but it's a pretty built Jeep for what it is and the parts I have on it. So if you're looking to have a Jeep just like mine, again, make sure you set aside a good amount for it. Especially if you're going to be having a shop do it, it's going to be pretty expensive. But again, I'm very happy with every single thing I've put on this Jeep. Everything that's on here now, I am very satisfied with, and I would not change a thing as of right now. But thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions about the stuff that I went over in the video today, again, you can go back and watch my full walk around where I talk a little bit more about each part. That is last week's video, and it will be posted to the left or the right here, one of the two. So you can watch that video. But if you have any questions, drop them down below in the comment section. I'd be glad to answer. But thank you guys for watching, and please like and subscribe for more Jeep and off-road content.